This is Rob Pirie with the Coffee Runs Deep podcast, where we interview coffee farmers, coffee roasters, and we share their stories. I truly hope you enjoy the experience. Welcome to the Coffee Runs Deep podcast with your host, Rob Pirie. And today I got an exciting guest on, Mr. Jim Ngokwey. Did I say it correct? Ngokwey. Ngokwey. And you're managing partner at the Mighty Peace Coffee. Yeah, so let's go ahead and roll into that. What is Mighty Peace and what does it mean to you and what are you trying to do with it?
Mighty Peace, we're a social impact coffee importer, and we import coffee from the Democratic Republic of Congo. You can call it Congo or DRC. So if I use them interchangeably, I'm talking about the same country. But yeah, that's what we import the coffee from Congo. It's actually where I'm from originally. I'm an immigrant from Congo. I came to America about 18 years ago, actually, when I was wrapping up my junior year in high school. I was 17 when I came here. So so I'm from Congo originally. At Mighty Peace Coffee, we truly believe that coffee can be a catalyst for long-term peace, development, and sustainability in Congo. And the reason why peace is a key part of it is because some of the regions where we operate are post-conflict zones. Congo is a very mineral-rich country, and some of these areas have a lot of minerals that many, national and international actors want a piece of. And as a result, they've created a lot of chaos and conflict in the Congo. And we believe that through the jobs and money that coffee can bring locally, we'll be able to ensure that peace becomes lasting locally.
Gotcha. So as far as like importing, you're only importing from the Congo?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So you're specifically focused on the Congo then?
Exactly.
Gotcha. How much do y'all do a year usually?
We're very new. So we started in 2018. Our first container arrived in 2019. We brought one container in 2019. And last year we brought two. And right now we're on pace for 10. So it's hard to say average because we're so new that, if I average our first 2 years, I won't really tell the full story. Yeah.
Yeah. So you live in New York, right?
Yeah, I'm in New York City, and I also have partners in Madison, Wisconsin. And we also have a team in Bukavu in Congo who handle all quality and relationships locally.
Gotcha. Is that where you moved to the United States to New York in the beginning, or did you kind of move around in the beginning?
Moved around in the beginning. I actually did not come from DRC directly when I came to America. I first came from another country in Africa called Ghana. That's where I was at the time when I was in high school. So I didn't come straight from Congo to America. I came through Ghana first, actually.
Gotcha. And then in the Congo, what was there many coffee farms back then, or is it kind of, because I know like I was reading, I think in the 1970s, they used to export like a way more than they do now. And I was just wondering, was there many coffee farms back then or no?
Absolutely. So there's two types of coffees in Congo, Robusta and Arabica. And actually, doing some research, I found out that in the past, Robusta used to be called Coffee Congo or Congo coffee because it's native to Congo and it's been in Congo and Africa, for millennia as far as we know. And Arabic actually came through Congo through colonialism. So, Congo used to be a colony of the Belgians, a Belgian colony. And that through that colonization and, different, folks coming through from Belgium and elsewhere in Europe, that's how they brought, Arabica coffee. So that's been there since at least the 1800s.
Okay.
And, Congo became an independent country in 1960. And back then, also the coffee industry was a key part of the country's development. But then a lot of other minerals were discovered in Congo, and they kind of became the priority for the government. And agriculture was unfortunately almost abandoned because of all the short-term money you can make by exploiting minerals like, gold, cobalt, coltan, diamonds, copper, and all that, which Congo has a lot of.
Yeah. I was looking at a map. The Congo is huge, dude. It's like, I was looking, it's probably like the size of Texas, Kansas, Arizona, Colorado, that whole area, like in the States. It's a pretty good size. And I didn't realize it was only 1960 when like Belgium still owned the Congo or whatever. I didn't realize that. I thought it was way back, like, World War II type era.
Yeah, man, many African countries, 1960 was the year they got their independence. Yeah, so it's 1960 was a year where independence became more rampant across the continent. But yeah, Congo is relatively speaking a young country.
Yeah. So then, as far as I read a lot about Kivu and a lot of I guess that's the city in Congo where, is that where a lot of the coffee is kind of being processed and stuff, or?
So Kivu actually, so there's a lake called Kivu, which separates Congo from Rwanda. And there's also in Congo, there's two provinces called North Kivu and South Kivu. So the same way we have, states in the US, in Congo, we have provinces. And our coffee comes from North and South Kivu. In terms of elevation, volcanic soil, some of the top quality Arabica coffee from Congo actually comes from these provinces.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I've been doing some research on it, and it seems like the Congo could. What's the issue? Is it kind of the infrastructure, like the processing, the mills and stuff like that, getting that kind of built up, or?
A lot of infrastructure needs, whether it's like the mill processing and all that, but also even a more basic infrastructure like roads. The exporting coffee from Congo is like, I think, like 8 times more expensive than like from Rwanda or Uganda, even though they're neighbors. It's because those countries have better roads and they have better systems in place and infrastructure in place to export coffee. So a lot of infrastructure needs to be rethought. Again, roads, a railway, and even a lake transport. Yeah, so it's a lot of infrastructure that's really slowing down. And also politically speaking, there's it's not the most stable situation. And also because of some of the conflict that Congo's experienced over the past few years, that's also another barrier to the country's coffee industry reaching its full potential.
Gotcha. And then as far as the coffee farmers and stuff that live there, what's that lifestyle look like? Is it similar to Rwanda and Tanzania and kind of the bordering countries, or is it a good bit different?
Definitely a lot of similarities in terms of they're organized in terms of cooperatives. Most farmers are small holders. They own less than 5 hectares, so relatively smallholder farmers, and their land has been passed on from generations. Typically, like their parents, grandparents, great grandparents were in coffee, so they're in coffee as well. So they're organized in cooperatives. I think in Latin America you hear about estates and things like that. It's really not the same in Congo. Just more organized by cooperatives. And there are similarities in terms of particularly like neighboring countries like Rwanda, Uganda, and Burundi. I'd say more so. Yeah.
Gotcha. And I've heard too, like a lot of the coffee from the Congo actually crosses the border, and then it kind of gets just put in with Rwanda or Burundi or any of the other type of single origin coffees, but it's actually a lot of it's kind of Congo mixed in with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's two ways in which that happens. One of it is because Congo is not well known internationally as a coffee country. A lot of producers and farmers feel they can earn more money more rapidly if they just smuggle it to neighboring countries. So sometimes they do it illegally, like really early, really late. Get on dangerous journeys, to be honest. They sometimes risk their lives to smuggle the coffee across borders. And so that's one way we should get there. The other way is literally the legal way, not necessarily ethical but legal, where traders and brokers from those neighboring countries just come and buy that coffee and just export it to their country and then just repackage it and blend it with coffee from, let's say, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and then they'll say, hey, this is some coffee from Uganda, for example. So it happens both illegally and legally, where they just come in and buy it and blend it with their own coffee.
Yeah. Gotcha. So the traceability is definitely not there in some cases. Then I can't imagine they'd probably be getting favorable prices with that happening.
Definitely not favorable. A lot of times they're exploited, but an advantage is that they get paid, in cash right away.
Yeah.
Whereas some, if they go through, the regular legal and ethical channels, the payment may take 15 days or a full month. Whereas if they smuggle it, they'll come back with cash in hand. So that's a I'll say air quote advantage, because if you think about the long term, it's really not beneficial to them. But that's why some of them do it. So that's something where we're hoping that as we continue to grow and create demand internationally for Congolese coffee, that there's less incentives for them to smuggle the coffee that way, because they'll know that people actually do want Congolese coffee and I can get paid even better, by exporting it as Congolese coffee.
Gotcha. As far as like the types of coffee that the Congo can offer, are there certain varieties y'all kind of focus on?
So mostly Bourbon, but actually recently we found out that some of the coffee we thought was Bourbon is actually SL34. So we sent it to the World Coffee Research Lab to do a genetic analysis. We found out that a couple of offerings we had that we thought were Bourbon were actually SL34. So very it was an interesting discovery earlier this year. But yes, mostly Bourbon, SL34, and also a little bit of Catamore, which again we discovered through genetic testing.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. What are y'all doing to kind of help promote the Congolese coffee?
Absolutely. So I think one thing I want to start with is the fact that we have a team in Congo. Linda Mugaruka, she's our chief quality officer and agronomy and engineer. And actually earlier this year, she became Congo's first woman Q grader. So having her on the ground makes a big difference. We wouldn't be able to operate without having somebody like a company owner in Congo as well. So that makes a big difference. And she does a lot of she does quarterly workshops with all the cooperatives to really teach them the basics of soil health, what to plant around the coffee tree just to make the soil as healthy as possible. And also what else to do during, before, and after the harvest to make sure that at the end you get the best possible coffee year in and year out, and that it improves every year. So a lot of quality training and work really to help make sure that the quality improves. Because we started with specialty coffee only because we wanted to start with the best possible coffee. So we can put our best foot forward and say, hey, this is some of the best coffees Congo has to offer. That way we can also make sure that, because if it's a higher quality, farmers can get paid a higher wage as well. That's why we wanted to start that way.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always like the Congo. It seems like just from the name, you could kind of, put a pretty good promotion out. And I don't know. I just feel people would be interested in. I remember when I first saw it, I had to try it because it was just like the Congo. I wanted to roast it. It was something kind of different. It was, you see a lot of Kenya, see a lot of Ethiopia, but it's like whenever I first saw Congo, I think Sweet Maria's had it. And I was just, I had to get it. And it was one of the Lake Kivu. I think it was South Lake Kivu or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it was really good. I mean, it rivaled Burundi and the Ethiopians and stuff I had, which was super cool. And I think you reached out to me, like, it's kind of weird how you that things like that happen where I ordered this coffee, I've been roasting it for a little bit, and then I think you'd reached out to me on LinkedIn. It's been a couple years now, and yeah, finally, we kind of linked up and we've been talking a little bit and stuff. But I think it's super cool. I really think Congo has the ability to put out some good coffee, and honestly, like you're saying, y'all are kind of discovering coffees there. There may be some other varieties that, I mean, has anybody kind of like been to, experiment with that, or not even experiment, but kind of like looking in or trying to discover, like, do they have any other types of varieties that may be specific only to the Congo that maybe nobody's kind of really discovered yet? Or
so interestingly, like the Catamore, the coffee we have as Catamore, initially, like, it actually was called something differently in Congo, like the region where it comes from. They don't call it Catamore. There's another name, Kisheke. That's kind of how they call that. That's the name of the variety. We were like, there's no coffee dictionary that has that name. So basically, so just to answer your question, I'm sure there probably are more, and it's going to be a matter of kind of doing that research and doing more genetic testing and being open to learning and not assuming that because we thought it was Bourbon or we thought it was this, it could be something different. So I'm sure there's a lot more to discover. Congo is a big country, like you said, and there's there's that. As far as I know, there's not been a lot of research done on the coffee, the genetics necessarily at that deep level nationwide. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually that initiative that we'll find out quite a few other type varieties of coffee, and maybe even some that aren't available elsewhere. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that'd be super cool, dude. And so what is the lifestyle of the workers? Not even so much like the farm owners, but like the workers there. Is it pretty decent living conditions, or how is it over there?
It depends. I want to say it really depends on the amount of land they have and the amount of coffee they produce. And also most of them, even though Congo has 2 coffee seasons, most of them like their coffee earnings, like they also have to sell other things. Some of them, whether it's goats, chicken, pigs, or other produce, like whether it's tomatoes, sweet potatoes, and cassava and things like that. So a lot of them, they do things beyond coffee to supplement their income. But in terms of lifestyle, I'd say it really depends, again, on the amount of land and experience. Also, whether you're a producer, also you're a manager level at the cooperative level. So if you're manager level at the cooperative level, you probably have more of a middle class lifestyle. Speaking in terms of Congo. But if you're a producer, despite our best efforts to pay significantly above fair trade and all that, it's still a relatively difficult life. They still basic infrastructure like clean water and electricity is unfortunately not common in the rural areas. And a lot of times, they have to walk long distances for, healthcare, access to healthcare, or access to even clean water, like I mentioned earlier. So the overall, it's definitely it's a challenging life for the average producer. We're trying to do our best to make sure that over time, as they get better at producing high quality coffee, and we continue to pay them more and more, that their quality of life can improve. But to be perfectly honest, it's definitely I'd say that the average life, the life of the average coffee producer in Congo is definitely a difficult one, in terms of it's tough to live in those regions, and to earn money slowly through agriculture.
Yeah, it's just like it's so crazy because it's such like a rich resource country. And I guess if the government could ever kind of get to a point where it's stable and stuff, I like, do you see it kind of getting to a point where it could grow pretty rapidly as far as like infrastructure and stuff like that? Or do you think it's too fractured as far as like the government level?
It's definitely possible. It's definitely possible, and I hope I live to see it. I don't know if you watch Black Panther, but I and many of the folks from Congo, we have no doubt that Wakanda was inspired by Congo because we really believe that if it's organized well and the resources are used for the right things, the country could become very wealthy. The African will at least have a much better quality life. So to answer your question, it's definitely possible, and I hope I live to see it. So that's definitely my dream to live in a time where Congo's reaching its full potential as a country, and that its resources, its minerals, its coffee really benefit the population at large, and not just a small percentage of well-connected people.
Yeah. Do they have any kind of like coffee, like larger coffee roasters? Not throwing out names like Starbucks really, or like kind of, any of the other kind of larger coffee roasters or even coffee like companies that are helping out or, giving back or trying to help build some of that infrastructure? Or is it kind of more take instead of give? Or what's that kind of look like?
So I know there's definitely a lot of bigger companies and brands are investing in Congo because they see the potential. Again, even beyond the quality of the coffee, if you look at global warming and also just like coffee availability and prices in Kenya and Ethiopia and what's available, whereas Congo, there's it's a much bigger country with more possibility for more coffee down the line. When maybe some other countries, because of global warming, they'll probably have less coffee available. So I think a lot of these bigger corporations, whether they're Starbucks, Nespresso, they're all aware of that and they have been involved in Congo. Most recently, Nespresso, I believe it was earlier this year. Like they're investing a lot in whether it's coffee washing stations and sourcing coffee from Congo for some of their products. And similarly, Starbucks a few years ago actually they were offering Congolese coffee and they built washing stations locally and work with different cooperatives. So I'm definitely some of the bigger coffee companies are aware of Congo and see the potential. And I hope they stay there for the long term and make it a point to make sure to pay farmers fairly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if it would kind of be one of those things where they step in and kind of hurt more than they actually help, or if it's kind of getting to that point now. I feel where I don't know, some people I've talked to in different countries, like, Starbucks is actually pretty helpful, but then you hear, from the kind of the Western side of it that they're not. So it's like I didn't know how it kind of was over there with y'all. And
Yeah, it's definitely a mixed bag. It's definitely a mixed bag in terms of the feedback of what these big companies do. Some, for from a perception standpoint, it's like, hey, if we're good enough for Starbucks and espresso, maybe more people will come. So there's that feeling that it will attract more people. But again, if you're buying, the quantities they're buying, as businesses, they also are trying to get the best possible margin. And that could have a negative impact. So from what I've heard, it's definitely a mixed bag as to the pros and cons of having those big guys really come on the ground and work there.
yeah, and kind of bringing up the climate, global warming or something like that. It seems like the Congo has a lot of room for growth in coffee, where a lot of countries are already kind of maxed out, where you can only go up so high into the mountains until you can't anymore. And the Congo is so big, like, I mean, Central America, it would engulf Central America, so like all your Central America growing could almost be transferred to the Congo if there's enough room. I'd have to kind of look at the mountains and stuff, kind of see where all the growing regions are. But do you think, like, how much more expansion do you think the Congo can go with coffee?
It's hard to put an exact number, but it has definitely has the potential to be a top 10, if not top five, coffee producing country in the world.
Yeah, and right
So,
now, where do you think? I mean, y'all, it's Congo's definitely down there. I think right now.
yeah, I think that the last time I checked, it was I think it was in like the low 40s. So we're there's a lot of countries ahead of Congo that really, realistically speaking, should not be above Congo in terms of volume exported and capacity.
Yeah,
Because of the better infrastructure they are. But in terms of if we get our act together and make the most, there's no reason. Probably cannot catch up with Brazil. They're definitely too far, or Vietnam. They're probably too far ahead of the game. But definitely has the potential to be a top 5 or top 10 coffee producing country globally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. I'd love to, because I would love to get over there one day. It's because I was looking up like landscape pictures and stuff like that and on Google, and it's just like, dude, it's like every type of landscape you can imagine the Congo has. It was like waterfalls from mountains to valleys to desert. And it's just like, it's pretty cool. I'd love to kind of get over there and see it one day.
We're evaluating doing a trip there next year in the spring, probably like March or April. So I mean, if you're down, you could definitely join us.
Oh, heck yeah, dude. I was wondering how, like, do you get to go back home much or?
I haven't been there recently, unfortunately, because of COVID.
Yeah.
So has unfortunately dampened travel plans. The vaccine has not been really available there at scale, and the Delta variant was really big there. So travel to Congo was not the safest most recently, but there's hope that in the next few months things will get better and the pandemic will be better controlled locally and it'll be safer to travel. But right now, like the cases have been increasing a lot, and it's definitely not recommended to go there at the moment.
Yeah. As far as like COVID and stuff like that, has it impacted like the producers and stuff like that pretty heavy or?
Yeah, and more so economically speaking. So not necessarily in terms of cases, like the cases are mostly in the urban areas, but most producers, living in the rural areas.
Right.
So their impact was more so commercially speaking. So a lot of people canceled their orders last year and things like that. So people that were expecting to sell, tons of coffee, all of a sudden, their contracts are canceled. So they have to find other ways to earn to make money. That's when they look at other produce, other, you know, um, cattle to raise and things like that. So I'd say the impact from a coffee standpoint was much more economical than like health from a healthcare and a high death rate standpoint, at least in the coffee areas. Yeah.
Yeah. So then as far as the producers too, like are they pretty small scale producers or is it like massive farms? Is it, what's the average farm and average producer kind of look like?
Yeah, the average is smallholder, so that's like technically less than 5 hectares. I think that's what's considered smallholder, like 5 hectares or less. So it's definitely small. Yeah, so that's about the size. So it's a lot. So most cooperatives, like a small cooperative is like 2,000 members, and like one of the bigger ones is like 18,000 members.
Are y'all thinking about doing any type of like micro lots through Mighty Peace, kind of like focusing in on like one farmer that's kind of has something, really special or something like that and kind of promoting that or?
Absolutely, it's definitely something we're evaluating, and we're talking to different individual producers, and about what that would look like, and kind of their capacity, and what we could do to really support them. So it's definitely something we have in mind for the near future.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I've been seeing a lot of roasters. They like the big focus now, I feel is like they're wanting to know who the farmer is, where their farm's at, what elevation, and then like, all the way to how many kids they have and who they're supporting. It seems like, it's like this big focus on exactly where the coffee's coming from, who it is, and the face on the bag. And I think that's pretty cool too, which I kind of see that being the trend where it almost kind of being like wine. You want to know what estate it comes from. You want to know what actual farm, what actually farmers kind of like farming it. And I didn't know if that was something y'all have kind of seen a demand for or anything like that.
Absolutely, and we actually already do that, but just because most of them are small holders. So let's say, for example, we bring in like a 50-bag lot,
Mm-hmm.
will be quite a few farmers. It's probably 50 to 100 people involved in producing, like, let's say, a container of coffee. But we do have their names, and we can verify when they got paid. Like our team in Congo like is in touch with them over the phone, so we can definitely go as granular as that. Who was it, where do they live, how long they've been in coffee. We definitely have that information. But in terms of let's say like somebody wants 20 bags, like it will be rare that those 20 bags of coffee comes from one person, because they usually don't have enough land to produce 20 bags, for one person, by one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do y'all determine price? How do you determine what you pay like one of the farmers? Are you buying directly from the farmer or the co-op?
Through the co-op, and then but the co-op is very transparent, as are we. So we understand the cost they need for the support, the administration, certification, to keep all that paperwork up to date and support the farmers with trainings and things like that. And then also like the producers, the price they need, plus the Mighty Peace coffee bonus. So we definitely are very transparent with pricing across the board. But to answer your question, they actually dictate the price. So for example, most recently, they'll send us spreadsheets, say, hey, this is what the producers needs to get. This is what the cooperative needs to get. This is if we get this, we're able to invest in that. So for the contracts for, let's say, July 2021, this is the price we request. And then most of the time we say yes, and sometimes we have to negotiate it. For example, we can't afford it, but we make sure that they are in control, because the last thing we want to do is contribute to the exploitation whereby American companies or European companies dictate the price and earn all the money. So right now they dictate the price, and we work together to make sure that it's a winnable situation for us, for them, and for the people who sell the coffee to, for roasters in America that want to buy a quality coffee at a price that makes sense for them as well.
Yeah, it's kind of that hard thing. It's like there's no point in you buying it at a higher price if you can't sell it. Yeah, that's a tough one. So it's like you almost got to, I guess, market it. So do y'all have like a marketing team and everything, or how many members do y'all have?
Yeah,
And members, I mean like people working with Mighty Peace Coffee.
so in terms of like Mighty Peace Coffee, so there's five of us total. So I'm in New York. We have Linda in Bukavu, and JD, Liza, and Mackenzie in Madison. So there's five, I guess, full-time owners and people leading Mighty Peace Coffee. But so there's five of us full-time, and there's also contractors that support Linda in Congo, and contractors that support us here with different like tasks and projects. But in terms of like the full-time Mighty Peace team is five of us. So we're still pretty young and pretty new and pretty small.
Gotcha. And as far as like quantity sizes, like do y'all only go down to a bag, or can somebody buy 20 pounds from you or something like that?
Yeah, we're not breaking down the bags yet. So our
Yeah.
minimum order is one bag, but we do have, for example, some clients that do that. So for example, some clients will buy our coffee and then sell in like 1 pound increments, for example, and that's actually works pretty well for some like home roasters and things like that like the coffee, but can't buy more than 30 pounds, for example. So
Right.
some of our partners buy coffee from us and sell to those kinds of buyers.
And then I guess kind of a big thing going on right now is like shipping and stuff. What, like, has that affected you any as far as like waiting on containers or and stuff like that?
Absolutely. So some of our most recent containers were a bit delayed, and the delay happened really from a transshipment standpoint. So let's say because so the coffee, just to give you a kind of a breakdown of the journey, the coffee goes from Congo, put it on a truck through Rwanda, and then it goes through Tanzania. So we export coffee out of Tanzania because Congo, even though on the east side it's connected to the Atlantic Ocean, the coffee that we source comes from the west part of the country, sorry, the eastern part of the country, and there really isn't a practical way to go from the east to the west of Congo. Like, so let's say, for example, the same way, you can go from New York to LA and, and like the train's probably 30 something hours, you could drive
Yeah.
in 30 something hours. You cannot drive from east to west in Congo. Just the roads aren't there. The infrastructure isn't there, unfortunately. So we actually have to go through our neighboring countries. So the coffee is exported through Tanzania. And from Tanzania, usually it also has like an extra transshipment. And it's the last few times been India. So the issue has been basically getting on a vessel in India. So there'll be instances where the coffee left Congo on time, even left Tanzania in time, but there was an issue getting on the vessel in India. Next thing you know, I spent 2 extra weeks there, and instead of arriving here in first week of September, it's arriving here first week of October. Because if you miss that ship, a lot of things get delayed, and it really affects timeline. So it's definitely, we've experienced the struggles of shipping in this day and age. Yeah.
Yeah. I was coming kind of wondering about that with coffee because we've been having issues at work and stuff, but I know y'all got to be having some pretty good issues too.
Yeah, we have coffees that have been a few months late, but I have clients that tell me that they have other coffees that are like 7 to 8 months late. So I
Oh,
think it's
wow.
definitely a worldwide, and from whether it's coffee from Africa, Asia, or Latin America, there's definitely a lot of issues, whether it's ports, labor, and things like that. It's been tough to get coffee in and out in a quick manner this year.
Like if you don't have a port or access to the ocean, I don't know how much it would kind of be more to probably, fly it out, but
Yeah, it's
have y'all looked into that any or no?
so we flown samples or like a handful of bags and things like that. But when you talking, let's say a full container,
Yeah.
220 bags, 19 tons, like we really, it's we can't fly it. Yes, it's too much coffee. It won't make business sense to try to fly that much coffee to America. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know, like, gosh, it seems like if you got to go through that many countries and probably customs, it just seems like all the costs add up. Yeah, it's kind of hard to justify then.
Yes, it's definitely it's definitely tough, but it's really the reality for many countries, even some of our neighbors. Because whether it's Rwanda or even Burundi, like they're landlocked. Actually, they're actually landlocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
They also
Burundi
have
is
to get
too.
their coffee through other countries, whether it's Kenya, Tanzania, or even Ethiopia at times. So it's an unfortunate reality, but we found ways to make it work. But ideally, with better infrastructure, or I hope somebody can come up with like a super fast ship.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
instead of going
it's
to space, you can make ocean travel faster.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of them things like, I don't know, I just never really thought about it. Like, yeah, like Brunei's landlocked, Congo's landlocked. So you're going through multiple countries just to get it to a port before you
Yeah,
can even get it onto a ship.
yeah.
And then get it coming. So yeah, that's a lot. Do people in Congo, do y'all drink much coffee or?
Not really, actually. The consumption, the local consumption is very low. If I think last time we looked at the numbers, it was less than 5%. So coffee consumption is definitely not something, like it's part of Congolese culture. Definitely more so tea, but it's increasing. Definitely particularly younger generations like millennials and and Gen X and Gen Z are definitely consuming more coffee, but it's mostly more of a tea drinking country. But I think especially long term, it will be important to increase local consumption so that we can also so that more of the coffee earnings can stay in the country instead of being exported outside.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. I didn't know if y'all had many coffee shops around and stuff like that or
They're
not.
popping
So
up more and more. They're definitely popping up, more and more, and targeting, younger population, and kind of my generation, and people slightly younger, or around my age range. So let's say from the twenties to 40s. So I'd say it's definitely growing. And more coffee shops are popping up in the cities. Yeah,
that's cool. I mean, that's the thing too. Like I feel once people, once you're drinking coffee and y'all are farming it there and stuff, it's like you kind of have more of that connection to it.
absolutely.
That's one thing, like in the States here in like Louisiana. I know we got Hawaii that can grow coffee, but it's one of those things like all coffee is pretty much imported.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that'd be pretty cool to know, like, you looking over there at the farm and you're at a coffee shop or something, and coffee's coming from right over there. So
yeah.
that'd be pretty cool. Are there any organizations that are helpful over there as far as like, the fair trade and stuff like that, or the Rainforest Alliance and this? Do y'all have any kind of dealings with that, or and how is it?
Yeah, so all of our coffees are fair trade and organic, and so it's definitely helpful that it's helpful to have because again what their standards are. But most importantly, because a lot of people that can come to Congo and see for themselves, they rely on those certifications to kind of like trust that we are what we say we are, and that the coffee is fair trade, and that the farmers are paid a minimum of this amount, things like that, and that the coffee is good for the environment because it's organic. So I think those organizations definitely help, especially for people that don't know much about Congo. But if they know that it's fair trade, there's like this certain level of trust that's there because, like, you know what, even though I can go to Congo myself and see how you guys work there, because fair trade says it's fair trade, that I trust that at least it meets a certain basic requirement. So those organizations are there, and they are helpful really to open the minds of people that are interested in our coffee but are wary of anything Congo related.
Heck yeah, that's pretty cool. And then as far as like, what is your perception of the current like coffee industry like in the States and stuff, as far as like kind of where the specialty coffee is heading, or or the commercial coffee? What's your thoughts on all that?
In what sense of in terms of the
Just
industry, like
like growth, and then I guess kind of where the Congo would kind of fit in with that too. Like what's your push? What's your thoughts on where the Congolese coffee can like fit in and stuff like that?
So I think in terms of Congo, where it fits in, one thing is the coffee. I say we have a versatile coffee. So whether you're looking for fruit forward or more like chocolatey, nutty, we definitely have like those different flavor profiles. So I think depending on your palate, there's probably a Congolese coffee that's perfect for your palate because we have such a diversity of coffees in Congo. And also it's I think it's because it's still relatively unknown. I think there's a lot of roasters out there that are looking for ways to stand out, looking for unique coffees with unique stories. That's another way in which Congo fits. And I'd say most of our clients, that's one reason why they work with us. The coffee is, they really enjoy the coffee. Also, they really enjoy the fact that it's from a country that most people don't know where it is on the map. Most people don't know EMS coffee. So I think there's also that element of curiosity and learning something new.
Gotcha. And then as far as I've also noticed, there's the Republic of the Congo and then the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Is there any coffee that is grown like on the what would be the western side?
So yeah, the Democratic Republic of Congo is actually the country where I'm from and where our coffee comes from. So
Right.
there's and that country used to be called Zaire, and before that it was called Congo Free State. So again, so it's so I know it could cause confusion because literally it's almost the same name. And somebody from the Republic of Congo is also considered the Congolese, like I am, even though it's two different countries. But there is coffee that grows on the western part, but it's mostly Robusta. It's
Gotcha.
mostly so in terms of the Arabica, it's largely on the eastern side of the DRC, and the central and west is mostly Robusta. As far as I know, there's no Arabica outside of the eastern provinces.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was kind of reading too. That's why I figured it was mostly around the Lake Kivu and all like
Okay,
on
yeah,
on the eastern side. So
yeah.
heck yeah, dude. As far as like I guess do you have any questions or anything, or any kind of thing you want to add, or?
Absolutely. So my first question to you is, how did you get into the coffee space? I want to, I know you've been asking me questions. I have some questions for you now.
Yeah, how did I get into coffee? Dude, my wife actually, she kind of got me into it. I didn't drink coffee until like 24, 25, probably 25. And she made this little, coffee drink one time, and it had like a lot of cinnamon and like, honey. I forgot what all was in it. It was a lot of stuff. And I liked it. I started drinking it after that. But my mom and them always drank like Folgers and stuff, and it was horrible, And then like later on, just going through that little whole, experiment and adding this and adding that and trying new coffees, I finally stumbled upon specialty coffee. And it was like one day I realized I didn't need to add anything to it. It was just
Yeah.
good enough how it was. So, and then after that, yeah, really just got into like roasting and stuff like that. And I think once I got into roasting, that's when I really started just tasting more. And that's when you start, I feel I started appreciating the taste of just natural straight black coffee, just because you were trying to find different flavors, different things, ways you liked roasting it, different origins and stuff like that. So yeah, just kind of like one of those slow progressions. And now here I am, so it's been quite the journey. I think now what I would like to focus on would be more kind of like the content given back, and then just going and seeing these places, and kind of creating short documentary style content for it. And just sharing the stories of the farmers and the people, and even like you and stuff, just kind of everybody that's involved in just making it a little bit better. And I feel that's at the end of the day, if we can all just make it a little bit better and pass on something better, I mean, it's all we can really ask for,
Really.
So heck yeah, dude. So as far as like buying your coffee and stuff, is there a link or anything they can go to and check it out?
Absolutely. So if you want to try some of our roasted coffee, because again, we mostly sell the green coffee to roasters directly, but we do have some small quantities that we roast for people that are curious and want to support. So it's
Okay.
mightypeacecoffee.com. You can try the coffee there. And depending on where you are, I think right now we're in 25 states. So whether you're in the East Coast, the South, the Midwest or the West Coast, probably have some roasters that carry our coffee. So if you let me know where you are, I'll be more than happy to point you in the direction of a roaster that's carrying our coffee. Yeah.
Oh heck yeah. So y'all do some roasting too? Do y'all like
Very
third
small
party it?
scale. Very small scale, yeah, very small
Okay.
scale. We have a roastery out in Wisconsin that's been a supporter of us from the get-go. So all of our sample roasting and all roasting for like friends and family, they do that for us. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Heck yeah, dude.
Very small scale.
Yeah. So I guess a bag is the minimum that they can buy from y'all then?
Like you're talking about the green coffee?
Yeah, green coffee.
Yes, yeah.
So what's that, 69 kilo, or what's
60, yeah, in Congo it's 60.
all right, well, cool deal, dude. Man, I appreciate you hopping on, bro.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm grateful to be able to, share the Mighty Peace Coffee story and talk about Congo. Nothing I love more than talking about Congo, as you can tell.
Heck yeah, dude. No, I would love to like, man, I wish all this craziness would kind of go away. I'd
Yeah.
love to get over there and, share the story and do a good little documentary style thing. And dude, if we can do that in the future and kind of, make that happen, I would definitely love to do that. So
That'd be really nice. That'll definitely be really nice. Yeah.
heck yeah, dude. Well, I appreciate you coming on, dude. And if I can help in any way, let me know. I'll link everything in the descriptions and all that. And yeah, dude, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.
I truly hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and thank you for tuning in to the Coffee Runs Deep podcast. And Mr. Jim, I truly appreciate you coming on. I had a blast, and I learned a lot from you. If you guys like this type of content, please think about liking, sharing, and doing all that. It helps promote the content. And I guess I'll see y'all next time. Love y'all. Peace out. Have a good one.